I'm pretty sure that Arsenal waited until I got back from holiday before they started to move more seriously in the window. Good timing, eh? Today's phone-in show will discuss Christian Nørgaard, of course, Viktor Gyökeres and Benjamin Sesko, and plenty more as we listen to some of the fans' views on what is, I'm sure, to be a very exciting window, although maybe a little bit of a slower one than many people wanted, even though 3 might be coming in before pre-season. Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys and girls for another episode of what is the Arsenal phone-in show. Today's episode, of course, coming the day of this channel's return to action following 2 weeks of holiday. Thank you so much to all of you that watched and tuned in and commented on and liked this morning's Arsenal transfer show. Well over, closing in on 20,000 of you have listened, and we've got over 1,000 likes. Maybe we'll have to start that 1,000 like challenge again on that show. But that's in the past. Now is the future, and of course, Arsenal's future, we hope, is going to be plenty of transfer incomings, outgoings, of course, as well. And today, we learned that Arsenal are making moves for Christian Nørgaard, a player, of course, who's been on the market for, well, not long at all, if at all, for Brentford for so long. He's a player that Brentford have kept very much under wraps there. He's a player that they have not entertained any interest of whatsoever, but having signed a brand new contract in March and seeming like he would stay for 2 more years. The 31-year-old is subject of interest following the news, of course, that Thomas Partey is expected to leave Arsenal. We'll be talking about that with plenty of our listeners. If you would like to call in, the link to do so is in today's video description. It's also going to be posted intermittently, I imagine, in the chat box as we go through live in today's show. The rules are very simple. You need to be over the age of 18. You need to have a webcam. You need to be in a quiet place, of course, to record. There's no background noise. And if you've got a really strong internet connection, that would be great. In fact, it's almost imperative. Otherwise, we won't be able to see nor hear really what you're saying. Keep it clean, keep it respectful. As always, you know where you are. It's TGT for a family show. But I'm looking forward to getting some views from people, of course, on the channel. And we're going to kick off today with Jack, who joins us first. How you doing, Jack? You good? You well?
Very good, Tom. How are you?
Yeah, mate, not bad. How's life?
Yeah, not too bad. Enjoying the sun as much as we can.
Indeed.
Well, say that for a gardener, it's a bit too much at some points. But
I was going to say, in Britain, we moan when it gets slightly hot, don't we? So we crave all year for some hot weather, and then it comes, everyone's like, I need to find some shade. It's usually the way forwards. Tell me, obviously, this news dropping today, Jack, about Christian Nørgaard and Thomas Partey, of course, both of them involved in this story. That and, of course, other news. What is it that you're up for discussing today?
So, I mean, all of it, really. I mean, the Christian Norgaard stuff, I've seen people fly off the rails. They're not very happy about it. I've seen some people are fairly happy about it. I mean, if we think about it, I think a lot of people are thinking, oh, Zubimendi's been brought in to replace Jorginho. Partey was supposed to say, now that it sounds like Partey is more than likely leaving, that Norgaard's coming in to replace Partey. But if you think about it, Zubimendi is going to be the starter. Yeah. Norgaard's going to be the Jorginho cover. I mean, he may come in. I imagine he'd do a good job. The stats I was looking at just before I came on put him in pretty good stead for a 31-year-old. If he's just going to come in and cover cup games, injuries now and then, I'm quite happy with him. Whenever I've seen him play for Brentford, he puts in pretty good performances. I'm fairly happy with it. I mean, I'm happy about the fact that the club are doing business early. I don't know why everyone's losing their heads. I mean,
we do know it's social media in 2025, Jack. That's how it works. That's the rule.
Yeah, I mean, the little Club World Cup window, I think, has thrown a lot of people into disrepute, in my opinion.
Just that lack of just sensibility. I get the frustrations, obviously, because it's ironic, actually. I think there's something to do with the frustration is linked actually to Arsenal's proactivity in a weird way, because we've heard about Zubimendi for so long. We know that's going to happen. And so people are kind of numb to that story now. We've known that there's going to be, or we need a lot of business in this window. We know that we need that centre forward. And Arsenal actually are, in very much active talks for a centre forward. I remember there's summers where we know we've needed a midfielder. We've known we've needed a defender or a forward or whatever. And we've waited and waited and waited. And there's not even been a hint that we're kind of in talks, even a hint that we're in protracted transfer discussions over a player. And yet this time around, there's two of arguably of who is available at least, probably the best two centre forwards on the market this summer. Arsenal are in talks for both of them, looking, of course, to get the best deal possible for one of the two. And yet, as you said there, the mood is... I mentioned the example I used this morning. A gal posted a video on Twitter yesterday of a fan saying, in 40 years of supporting Arsenal, this is the lowest point for them.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
I mean, I heard that this morning when you were saying it. I just stood there shaking my head. I mean, I really don't want to sort of, to put a better word, slag off the fan base, because I'm a fan. Yeah. I'll agree with people. I disagree. I've not been happy at certain points. I've been ecstatic at certain points. But I mean, three seconds in a row, considering 5 years ago we were still not quite as bad as Spurs and Man United this year. But I mean, eighth place just wasn't good enough. I mean, we haven't won the league for 21 years. We've got no divine right to win it. Arteta's done a fantastic job, in my opinion. He's made mistakes, don't get me wrong. I mean, like I say, I've not been happy with him at certain points. I mean, as a fan, I'm probably more than happy than I've been in a long, long time. I mean, we need to win a trophy next year. I mean, I don't want to be the person to be like, if he doesn't win, he's out. It's context. I mean, if we think about it, even before the season before we've just had, Liverpool should and could have well won that league, but they were in a similar sort of situation with us to injuries. I mean, the fact that we finished where we finished, beat Real Madrid 5-1 on aggregate with this squad and the injuries that we had. I can't slag Arteta off for that. Any other manager doing that job, I would have said, wow, cracking job. But like I say, we're at a point now. With Norgaard's come out of nowhere. I mean, I think there was whispers about it a few days ago. It sounds like it's pretty much spot on. He's coming in.
I think that's an example of spectacular timing. I read John Cross's story on my way home from Canada, and it was obviously very much an opinion-based piece kind of around Norgaard as a player that Arsenal could potentially move for. And now all of a sudden they're moving for him. So spectacular timing. He's a player that Arsenal, to my knowledge, I know that, and I had a few people tweet me saying Sammy Mokbel said, he's not a long-term target of Arsenal's, but certainly might be my understanding that Arsenal have kept tabs on the player for quite some time. I remember there were stories in 2023 about him. I remember doing a piece on him in 2022 because he's a player that I've appreciated for quite a while and have thought has gone under the radar in the Premier League for quite some time. Yes, obviously he would have been in his latter 20s at that point. Now he's 31. But what you said earlier about the whole Thomas Partey, Zubimendi, who's replacing who kind of scenario and that vibe, Arsenal bringing in Zubimendi, in my view, was to push Partey to be the number 2 and that Zubimendi would become the number 1. Now that Partey is expected to leave, we're just replacing that number 2 position. But I think you're right. I think people are maybe looking at this as thinking, well, Zubimendi was going to play behind Partey when that's certainly not what my understanding was it was going to be. It was going to be Zubi. You don't spend 60 million odd on a midfielder to make them a backup to Partey. You don't do that. And I think that when it comes to Norgaard's arrival, he will be seen as the player coming in to add that, replacement for Jorginho. We lose 2 30-plus players in Jorginho and Partey. There's a lot of experience and, especially from a Premier League perspective. And now we're bringing in a player with loads of Premier League experience and I think of a really good level. But yeah, final thoughts, Jack, before we move on to the next caller.
So exactly that. I mean, we've lost Jorginho for little to no fee. We've lost Partey I'm assuming we've lost Partey for little to no fee. 12 million euros for a player, like you say, that's got Premier League experience. Can't be upset with that. And I'm sure he'll do a fantastic job, whether or not he plays many minutes or not. I can't be upset.
Yeah. Jack, it's been a pleasure, mate. Thank you so much for your call.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me, Tom. Thank you.
Enjoy the hot weather, pal. See you later.
And you, mate.
Lovely stuff. First call of the day. Fantastic contribution. Chat box, I can see you going mad already. Thank you so much for all your kind comments. If you could drop a like, of course, subscribe, all the usual YouTube stuff. If you're new to the channel, we do shows every single day at 8 a.m. UK time. And sometimes, like today, we do a phone-in and get some of our listeners on. Let's get Tom on next. How you doing, Tom, mate? Fantastic name, fantastic listener, and obviously very dedicated listener to the channel. How you doing, mate? You good? You well? We lost. You're just there. There's a bit of a delay, Tom. There's a little bit of a delay. So we'll see how it goes, but we may have to disconnect. But just give me your monologue, mate, about how you're feeling about this situation.
You hear me now?
Yes, go for it.
Wait, just a second. You hear me now?
Yes, but there is a little bit of a delay. But just go for it. Talk, and then I'll cut you off if I need to.
Okay. So, first of all, I'll say that I have a bit of a conspiracy because after 2 weeks of pretty much, some news, a bit of this, a bit of this, you come back and we get two here we goes, crazy Norgaard, Kepa, Fabrizio spying on Sesko on Instagram. My conspiracy is that you're Berta's drinking buddy and you ask him to make this call up juicy. So that's my theory. But
Berta's been in Canada with me. That's what's happened.
Yeah, exactly. But now in truth, listen, I mean, it was expected that it's going to go crazy close to July. I mean, like you said before, I mean, June was always going to be a bit quiet, a lot of noise. And I think people kind of miss the point. I mean, I know people go crazy, but let's be honest, how many summers by June we pretty much have a picture of the signings we want to make? I mean, it's like if you ask probably 60-70% of the fans who we're gonna sign. I mean, Nørgaard was a bit of a surprise because of the Partey situation, but I mean, you pretty much have everybody in line. I mean, we know the winger we want, we know the defender we pretty much want. I mean, the fact that it's just a question of more of a when than who. I mean, compared to last summer when we, the striker position, we were basically chasing shadows and get bits in there, and there was no real target. So, I mean, I'm very happy. Just a question of hopefully. I mean, I do get the post-traumatic effect that people have because of last summer and January. Why people kind of want, they just want it out of the system. They just want to have the striker, so they won't.
Oh, have we lost?
Won't have the fear of reliving last summer.
But I hear you. I hear you now. No, you're all good. Frantically tapping away.
I do think that. Yeah. But I'm very happy with what's going on, and regarding Norgaard, I mean, I understand the idea of bringing experience, but there is one thing I'm kind of against is that when people talk about Norgaard, they're saying, okay, we're bringing someone to replace Partey because Partey was replaced by Zubi.
Yeah.
But I think it's a misconception because in the end of the day, you're saying the question is when you bring someone, you always want to upgrade. So the question, the idea was that if Zubi is the new Partey, then Partey was the new Jorginho. And now that Partey is going and bring Norgaard, the question should be more: is Norgaard is better than Partey, because they both were kind of candidate to be the new Jorginho. So this is the question people need to ask, and not the fact that Norgaard is the new Jorginho. You understand what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And there's a report actually by Sammy Motbell that's just come out now on the BBC. It's suggested very much that while they had appreciations for the likes of Lucien Agume, that they've gone for Norgaard because of that experience, of course, in the Premier League in particular, and the fact that Arsenal are losing Jorginho and Partey is a big reason. Tom, the only reason I'm letting you go is not because of your contribution to it. It's been fantastic, only because of your connection. That's the only reason I'm letting you go. But thank you so much, Tom, as always.
It's okay. Thank you very much
for calling in. Thank you, pal. Really appreciate it. Lovely stuff. Bill's up next. Fantastic, Bill. How you doing, mate? You good? You I don't know why I struggle with that sentence so much. I meant you good, you well. I say it every day. I'm struggling with it today. It's I've not spoken for 2 weeks. I'm practicing again. But are you good? And are you well?
Just getting warmed up again. All right.
Indeed.
But I'm doing well. It's good to be back. It's I have also been taking something of a break from the social media side of things, trying to just relax and get some rest before we ramp back up into the real season.
Yeah, agreed. I'm glad you did that. I'm hoping other people did that too, because it's from what I've heard, it's not been a particularly great 2 weeks to have sat through kind of Arsenal content in a way, because not loads has gone on, even though I did talk about a lot this morning. I don't think things have accelerated as quickly as maybe people would have hoped by now, but it does seem that things have started to kick off, which is a really good thing. But yeah, tell me your thoughts on kind of the feeling at the moment about anything, really, any players, Norgaard or Sesko or Gyökeres or whoever.
Well, honestly, I'm not really surprised at things having not accelerated as quickly as people would expect, because it is kind of what I would have expected, because there are a lot of these clubs who you hear reports that they don't want to, finalize anything or make anything official until the next accounting period, which starts in July, from my understanding. Yes. So I wouldn't expect
it's weird. It's not like the account. A lot of people get this kind of conflicted. It's accounting. It's like profit and sustainability is a lot to do with July. Accounting periods for certain clubs are around July, but it's like club accounts run from I think April, February, or whatever it is, and it's not July. And people have kind of got this conflated, but there is very important accounting reasons why clubs want to do their books in July. Just know that. You don't need to know the fine details. Just know that. So yeah,
exactly. So what I would really expect is, like we're seeing a lot of this start ramping up into more official talks, more official bids, and then we'll start seeing a lot of things really start hitting the ground come July 1st and early July, which is fine for me because, right now all the players are on holiday. We're going to have our, warm weather training camps and preseason stuff starting up, later in July. So at least as long as we have a majority of our signings in before then, that's fine with me. We don't need to have them, holding up the shirt in June when they're not going to be doing anything with us until July. And I think it's good that, we're, testing out our different options, making sure that we get the best out of this summer. Because we say it every summer, but this is an extremely important, if not one of the most important summer transfer windows that we've had in a long time.
Yeah. 100%. I think you're absolutely spot on. And I think that when it comes to the hysteria, I think it's a lot based on last summer, as has been pointed out. We didn't do good last summer. We signed 2 permanent fixtures in Calafiori and Moreno, who I think, have a really strong chance of making a significant impact in their careers at Arsenal. But there was much more needed, and we didn't do that. But if you look at the last 3 summers, in the 2 before last summer, we did our business early, getting in the likes of Rice, Havertz, Timber before pre-season. The season before that, getting in, Jesus and getting in Zinchenko. I think a match into pre-season. Vieira came in before pre-season. We do business early. We do business proactively. And this summer, we've already, it seems, locked in 3 players in Zubimendi, Kepa, and we hope Norgaard as well, before the players even return for pre-season training, let alone the pre-season matches. And we know that there are discussions over the fabled centre forward in Gyokeres and Sesko, and talks there. And of course, we know that there is a desire to bring in a wide player and a real interest in Rodrygo, who, if he was to arrive, I think we can be sensible enough to know that is, if it happens, is a deal that's going to take some time, and I think it will be more of a market opportunity, and decisions still need to be made on the player's side as to whether or not he wants to make a switch this summer. So that one might be delayed. But say we come to the end of the window, Bill, and Arsenal have added Rodrygo, one of Sesko and Gyokeres, let's say Rodrygo or another top wide player. So they've added those 2 forwards that they need. Norgaard, Kepa, Zubimendi, perhaps, hopefully another defender on top of that as well. How would you be feeling about Arsenal's summer window?
I think that's a 9 or 10 out of 10 at that point. I feel like we've basically covered all of the areas that we would need to replace. Obviously, that's not including any outgoings that might be a surprise outgoing, say if Martinelli and Trossard both go, then obviously bringing in one left winger is not going to be enough. But
yeah,
and if, say, we have Kivior, Zinchenko, and Tierney all leave, then maybe just one defender might not be enough. But yeah, I do think that is a really good summer if that list you named off really does come to be. And one thing that I am kind of happy about regarding Rodrygo is that we have Andrea Berta in as sporting director this time rather than Edu, because just based on what we've heard about their style of managing transfer windows, because it sounds like Edu was a very go for one person, really lock in and try and get them. Whereas Berta has a more scattergun approach, trying to make sure that if, plan A doesn't come off, we have plan A1, A2, and we can just pivot quickly, because that may end up being what we need to do if we're really locked in on wanting to get Rodrygo and he's our plan A. Because like you said, it may come down to close to the end of the window, and it would be nice to have another option to bring in at that point, so that we're not left, with another Sterling, deadline day signing.
Don't remind me.
Well, hopefully that won't be the case this time.
Yeah, but also like the loan situation when you can only bring in 2 loans from teams in your own league. That would be good to have open for January if we need to go and do that. We don't want to be in a position like we were last summer where we were panicking and bringing players in on loan if there's an injury crisis and we need to bring a player in on loan in January. And really, January, that window should only really be, I mean, in my opinion, the January window shouldn't really exist. Arsenal and all clubs should have a larger squad allocation, say, rather than 25 players, 30 players at the start of the season. And there shouldn't be a January window. I think the January window is a real farce at times for clubs in general in the sport. And I don't think it's necessarily that beneficial other than to be great for content creators. So, maybe I should be a little bit more happy about it. But it really, for me, the January window should only be for your panic situations. And that is what a loan is really for, to be honest. Bill, thank you so much. Absolute pleasure to catch up with you. And I hope you're doing good.
Yeah, of course. It was great to be back on. Welcome back, Tom. And I think I speak for everybody when I say buckle in and hold on for dear life, because it's going to be a fun one.
Absolutely. 100%, mate. Speak to you soon.
See you.
Cheers, Bill. Lovely stuff. Let's get MJ10 on next. How you doing, mate? You good, Joel?
Hey, Tom. How's it going?
Yeah, good, mate. How are you?
I'm all good, man. Hope you enjoyed your vacation.
Did indeed, mate. Very needed. Did you enjoy the no content for 2 weeks? Was that a refreshing break?
It's fine. Nothing was going on anyway, besides, Zubimendi. But actually, right. I actually wanted to call in because I had a different perspective that I wanted to offer.
Go for it.
Right. So I think I'm not too worried about the transfers. I think everything Arsenal's doing is exactly within their plans, right? But I also have one issue. I think I really hope that they surprise us. Maybe, I don't know, towards the end of the window, just like before the season starts. Because I think one of the biggest issues Arsenal had last season was that we really had nothing to surprise teams with. Especially when you let go of Vieira, Reece Nelson, and Smith Rowe. We really lost a lot of attacking sparks, and we kind of just lacked any sort of ideas when because a lot of teams in the Premier League are used to Arsenal playing, right? So they know that, oh well, we're just gonna mark down the left side, and Martinelli doesn't really have a lot of creativity. He's a very fast runner, direct player, but he's not that type of winger that can create you goals. So my hope is that maybe there's a Javi Simmons somewhere along the way, or something along that line. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that's fair. It is interesting, isn't it? Kind of how transfers they're so all-consuming, and there's also something to be said, especially when you think about this Norgaard situation. Because of his age, because he's already been in the Premier League for a few years. Lucien Agume, who, for instance, is the other player that Arsenal have been linked to. I feel if Arsenal went and signed him for 30, 40 million or whatever, there would be this real sense of excitement, and because it's Norgaard and he's costing between, I imagine, 10 to 15 million pounds, that isn't the feeling we're getting right now. So do you almost think that transfers have become a bit of a circus now? And
actually,
go on.
Yeah, actually, I was about to say, because I'm working on YouTube with my friend when I try and do football content, and I was thinking of a video about how transfers have become a sort of a sub business in football itself, where
Hold on a second. Right. Steal MJ's video idea.
Okay.
I'm
shouldn't talk about ideas in public. Yeah, transfers have become a sort of sub-business in the sense that, like, you have David Ornstein, Fabrizio Romano basically making up a whole business of telling you about transfers. And there's other like sub-businesses that have come about because football has become so monetized and
sure,
so financial now. So yeah, that's pretty much how it is. We need, like, as football grows, we have more content coming up. You know what I mean? Because of it. So yeah. I think that's that's pretty much how it happened.
Adrenaline. I mean, when the kind of what we call them now, the Orny bombs and the Fabrizio here he goes, these trademarks, if you like. And to be fair, David Ornstein never calls himself the Orny bomb, but
never said
whether you want to call whatever. Fabrizio, of course, has coined the phrase "here we go" or "here we land," as we also discovered in some of the previous windows. The more famous one to me, it's almost like people get like a dopamine hit when they turn their notifications on for their favorite journalist and get that tweet coming through of Arsenal are going to sign X player, and like you're almost measuring transfers on a dopamine kind of bracket or graph these days.
Do you remember how Ozil came in? I was so blown. My mind was blown. Do you remember that night? I wasn't expecting anything. I was just another deadline day going by.
Yeah.
So it's just part of how football is right now.
Oh my God, this is incredible! I remember those scenes on Sky Sports News when Mesut Ozil was announced. You had hundreds of fans. They can't do that now for safety reasons because it was getting so nuts. But that kind of told you kind of the view and the view of how things are around transfer. MJ, thank you so much for calling in, mate. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Tom. Have a good night.
You too, mate. Lovely stuff. Ian's up next. How you doing, Ian? You good, you well?
Hey, I'm doing all right. Can you hear me?
Can indeed. Love the shirt collection as usual. Very impressive.
Yeah, no collegiate debt, so I just spend all my money on kits, and it works.
Disposable income. It's what it's for. It's what it's for.
Who needs therapy when you've got a rack full of Arsenal kits?
There's so many jokes there, mate. I'm not going to go there though. But go on, talk to me about the transfers.
Hey, look, my big thing is I haven't heard really a lot of people talk about Mikel Merino. I think it's because of the role that he has been playing this season. He got hurt with the collarbone from Big Gabby early on. And when he came back, it almost seemed like he got thrust into that kind of forward offensive role. And let's be real, his defensive stats were off the chain at Sociedad. In fact, I do believe, top 5 European leagues, he was the top duel winner. I think he beat out closest was Bruno Guimaraes from Newcastle.
And we know Arteta loves a duel. So
and we haven't really been talking about him in a defensive midfielder position. We're so worried about Zubimendi coming in. But what I think our biggest quagmire right now is what are we going to do with our midfield? We have Declan Rice, we have Kai Havertz coming back, who's also kind of switched back between a striker position and kind of that mystery Granit Xhaka position over on the left. And with Odegaard kind of playing that right-hand side kind of offensive facilitator, it kind of, you have to have that kind of defensive sound player on the left and even someone tucking in behind him. So, it's another case of another season of we might be playing people out of position. We might have enough people, but they might not be playing their optimum role. And again, is Miles going to stay at left back or is Mikel going to bring him into midfield? Because that's his natural position. So, I think a lot of people are getting worried about the transfer market when in all reality, it doesn't matter. It's all hindsight. We were losing our minds when we missed out on Mudryk and Buendia. Absolutely, people
always bring up Buendia. Failing.
Good evening and Buendia, but no, it just did not happen for him over at under Unai Emery, and it just goes to show we won't know any of this. Stop worrying about it so much. You know, there's a weird saying you might have heard a couple times. You got to trust the process sometimes. You know, we might not have.
New saying there.
Look, I know we haven't won the trophies that our fans want, and honestly, that our club deserves. But if you really look at the numbers, we're being progressive, and you just, you know, if you've really been an Arsenal supporter for, you know, the past 20 years, if you've been through the Mustafi gauntlet, look, we are in a great place. Don't worry about trophies. If anything, Spurs winning a trophy shows you kind of the ridiculousness of it all.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So guys, don't stress out about that. Trust the club. You know, just build up with your communities, you know, watch all the matches together, make all the matches that you can, and support the lads. You know, we're riding a wave right now. Big shout out to the women's team, the best in the world right now. You know, now it's our turn. We got to turn it up, and it's going to be a rocky road first couple of games. I'll tell you what. But at the same time, with how our seasons have been kind of tailing off with injuries and such, I'd much rather have a bit more of a cakewalk towards the end of the season, especially if we're pushing, you know, Champions League, Carabao Cup, and the likes. So, you know, last season we played more matches than we have since 2017. And I think that really kind of showed with all the injuries right at the end. So,
yeah, I mean, we had those games, but even before, right at the end, you know, the players that we'd lost in that season, you know, the injuries to Ben White that we lost at the beginning of the season, Norgaard, Marino, Saka, all injured in the first half of the season. You know, others were missing as well. Tomiyasu, we didn't have all season, only won 9 minutes against Southampton was what he played. So, you know, you're absolutely right. A really great perspective, Ian. Thank you so much for your kind words.
Thank you, Tom.
Speak to you soon. Enjoy the collection.
Indeed. Thank you.
Lovely stuff. We've got a good friend of the show up next, Mr. Drew. How you doing, mate? You good? You well? Take yourself off mute, and we'll
welcome back to the land of the living. How are you?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Not bad. Survived. Yeah. Survived 2 weeks of no content. My hands were shaking a bit by the end. Like they hadn't clicked a keyboard in so long that it was becoming something of a problem. But you know, I'm back now. I've got my my hit back. So there you go.
I'm glad you're back. Good to see you again.
Likewise, bro. How are you?
Oh, I live in the US, buddy. That sums it up.
Yeah, that's fair. I have nothing to say to that right now.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so, that's all I gotta say.
You can escape from that into the world of that is all, you know, all knowing, never controversial, never political in any way, of transfers. So let's talk about that. Norgaard, terrible signing, right?
Oh my god, yeah. You and I talked about it before. It's frustrating because I feel like there are some good points made before I came on about how there's a lot of fan angst about wanting to get in the forwards. I get it.
Yeah.
How the club has operated in the past, same thing. I get the concern, but if you look at just what this is focusing on, if we're losing two defensive midfielders, we need two new defensive midfielders. So we get Zubimendi and Norgaard in. And I feel like with Nørgaard, a lot of people only look at who he played for, what his age is, and he's not like that sort of stunning name. A lot of fans kind of started wetting themselves over Agume lately, who no one ever talked about 2 months ago, and all of a sudden now we have to get Agume in. But if you look at the metrics surrounding Nørgaard, he's very, very good. And usually he was one of the better
having conversations like 2 years ago about Norgaard and being like, why is no one taking a punt on this guy?
He's a very good player, and he was usually one of the best 2 or 3 Brentford players in when we featured against him, and he's often shown well against us.
Their fans are fuming, by the way. Their fans are... I'm speaking to someone who runs a supporters club at Brentford. They are fuming about losing Norgaard.
I mean, they should be. He's very good. He's a very, very good player, and it's the kind of thing where if you take the age conversation aside, because it would be a short-term deal, you don't have to worry about long-term regression potentially. It moves the needle in a way that fans aren't necessarily considering. Defensively, he's better than both Partey and Jorginho. And Scott Willis actually just did a post about it maybe an hour ago.
Partey, hot take.
It's not. Look at the numbers. The numbers show he's a better ball winner than Thomas Partey by the data.
No, the numbers do show that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Overall, I yet to be convinced on that argument, but I respect it.
No, I'm not saying he's necessarily a better player. He's a better ball winner.
Okay.
I'd say when it comes to like progressive passing, Partey is probably a better player.
Yeah.
But you're moving the progressive pass needle with Zubimendi, so it's kind of an irrelevant thing. And another thing is people forget that Brentford under Frank, although he left now, they were embedded in a pressing system that we also have. We press. And he survived in a pressing system and shown in a pressing system, even at his age, he has not shown physical regression yet. Yeah. So as a depth signing, I don't understand the issue. He's on half of Partey's wage. So
I mean, I don't know how much his wage will go up at Arsenal, if at all. To be honest, I think he'll, he's very. He want to stay in London. That's why he rejected a lot of the approaches that were made for him in January. He wants this move, which obviously is always a positive thing. And I think that if you look at the way Brentford play, they're so good in transition. Like, they're so good at turning over teams and switching from defense to attack. And so adding a player that is effectively the connective tissue between the defense and the attack for Brentford in Norgaard, that bodes well. That key figure. But yeah, it's the hysteria is while hilarious, but not at all surprising, to be fair. Where are you on the striker thing, the Sesko Gyökeres stuff? I need to ask you about it. You could shake your head all you like.
For me, I've always been in the camp of I get the frustration about going after Gyökeres maybe instead of Šeško, but both have pros and cons that we have to kind of live with. Šeško, for me, has the higher long-term ceiling. I don't think that's deniable. I think you can look at it and you know that he's going to be an exceptionally good center forward in 2, 3, 4 years' time or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of questions from me as someone who watches a ton of Bundesliga about where he is now. I think he's pretty inconsistent in front of goal. His ball striking is good when he actually strikes the ball well. I'd say he's probably better in build-up play than Gyökeres is, but Gyökeres, again, it's one of those players that you look at that we're linked with who signal that we may be tweaking how we play when we get on the ball. Zubimendi is a very progressive passer. Gyökeres loves to run into space. Nørgaard is also a very progressive passer. We know that Rodrygo can be when you give him the runners. We know that Rice can be when you give him the runners. So are we going after players who come into the team and might actually retool how we actually play football when we win possession? Are we going to be a bit more direct, utilize space more, utilize pace more? Gyökeres, his physical profile is good. He's an excellent finisher. I think if you're looking at who has a better chance to score more goals maybe next season, it's Gyökeres for me. Who's better in 3 years?
Followed us on Instagram.
I'm sorry? Oh, yeah, that means he's signing tomorrow. Both of them are signing tomorrow because they both follow us on Instagram now. But I think in 2-3 years, Šeško's the better player, right? So I think if fans want to win the league next season, I think Gyökeres is probably the better bet. If fans want to have a player who long-term is going to be arguably one of the best center forwards in England at least, then you go for Šeško. But it depends on how Arteta and Berta and the club want to play it out. Both of them are very good, but both of them have weaknesses we have to abide with. And I think it's kind of where I'm at. So at the end of the day, if we get either of them, I'm happy with it. I can't say that either of them.
You're not allowed to say that, though. True.
But I am.
To pick a side. You have to pick a side. Man. You have to. It's the rules. It's how Arsenal fandom works. You can't sit on the fence. It's not.
You got to be trying.
You're allowed to do. So
I mean, what I would say is it's hard because you always also want players who want to come to you. And if Gyökeres if the rumors are true that he really wants to move to Arsenal and Šeško's kind of on the fence, I'd rather go for the player who we know wants to be here, no questions asked.
To be fair, I have no doubt in my mind that Sesko would love to be an Arsenal player.
Of course he would be. Yeah.
It's just financially, this seems a more complicated. Saying that, Sporting are exactly wanting to play ball on their supposed gentleman's agreement that they had with Gyökeres. So they're both not easy deals. Just lastly, before I let you go, how are you feeling about kind of the whole getting deals done early, kind of nerves, anxiousness?
I don't have it because at work,
you're coming in before pre-season training starts, so
Well, true, but what's at work with us? We're doing a lot of Club World Cup coverage, and I mean it's understandable that teams that are in the Club World Cup want to get deals done early to bed those players in, using the Club World Cup as a way to get for City. They wanted to get Reinders and Cherokee and get them bedded in, using the Club World Cup as a way to get them bedded in, and that makes sense. I mean, Liverpool are moving mad with some of the deals, and it pains me that Florian Wirtz is at Liverpool now, and that I actually can't comprehend it, and that's going to annoy me for quite a while. But for me, again, I still kind of feel like when you're doing deals that can be complicated financially, sometimes it takes more time, and we're moving in ways for players that we know we can get in quickly, so we got them in quickly. Kepa, maybe Nørgaard, Zubimendi, those are all done. I would like for us to get the forward signings in early, but if we have to wait until mid-July, it's not detrimental. But if they still get a month to bed in preseason before like the mid-August start, I'm fine with that. But I would prefer we get them done with enough time to actually have them a chance to hit the ground running. We need that next season for sure. With that new start, with the opening 5-6 fixtures in the league, we need the new signings to hit the ground running. Whether if it's Gyokeres, Šeško, Watkins, Rodrygo, whoever it is, they have to be on it from match day one, because it's
the centre forward in particular. The centre forward is the one that needs to be in before pre-season starts, in my opinion. And to be fair, I had a phone call yesterday, and the feeling I got from that call was, just watch it. Next couple of weeks are going to be important. Like that was kind of the sense I got. And now, of course, if we don't get it done in the next 2 weeks, it's going to be like, oh, it's dragging on. But Arsenal absolutely want to get these done quick. There's no doubt in my mind that they want to get that centre forward in. But at the same time, they don't want to get bullied into paying way over odds. And typically the deals that you do at that kind of price bracket at the start of the window happen when you just give the club what they're asking for. Which, from an Arsenal perspective, from Leipzig and Sporting perspective, like the prices that both those clubs are asking for are not reflective, in my opinion, in the first instance of what the market value of those players are for a club like Arsenal who have options. Whereas you look at Leverkusen with Wirtz, for instance, Liverpool paid well over 100 million for Florian Wirtz and got that deal done because they could pay that money. They got Frimpong in for 35 million because I think it was a release clause. Gyökeres for 40 million quid. Gyökeres is a great player, don't get me wrong, but that's a big fee for a left back, and he has to now work. And then you've got that money for Wirtz there because they didn't spend any money, obviously, in 2024. So they just fronted up, got him in, got it done, and they were happy to pay that fee for him. But for Sesko to pay, 100 million euros is the top end of what Leipzig apparently want. That's nuts. For me, for Sesko,
it's nuts, and for me, he's not worth that yet. And because at that point, you're paying for what you hope he's going to become. You're not paying for what he is now, and that's the risk with it. And I get it, but at that point, I would rather just go with Gyokeres.
Like 80 million euros, I can make sense of. I think that's what just shy of 70 million quid, if not slightly more.
100 million euros
make sense of that, but 100 million euros is just silly. So that's what Man United paid for Anthony. I get it, but the laughing stock that they are because they paid that. I just wouldn't go to that. I mean, Mudryk was a big warning sign as well. The money that he went for, obviously, as well, regardless of what's going on with him at the moment. But I would be really, really keen to avoid that. And the 60 plus 10 for Gyokeres, the supposed gentleman's agreement that they're Sporting apparently are not respecting, that I think is a very fair figure for Gyokeres. At 27 years of age, that he's at the prime value in his career. 60 plus 10. I'm fine to pay £60 million for Gyokeres. That's not a problem. That's not stupid levels, but 100 million euros for Sesko is for me too much. And I will say so if we pay that.
And for me, for a player who, if you look at maybe the best 3, 4, 5 strikers in the Bundesliga right now, you could say maybe he's probably has the highest ceiling, but in terms of how they performed last season, Ekitike had a better season, for example. And he's not even a player who I necessarily would want in Arsenal. That's the whole other debate. But that's kind of what you're dealing with. So for me, I feel like because we have so much business we have to do, if we weren't in for a winger, if that was all sorted, you could maybe come to terms with paying over the odds for Šeško to get that done, which is what Liverpool did with Wirtz because they didn't have the same business that we have to do. Left back, right back, Wirtz, that's kind of it. But for us, it's a bit deeper than that. So we're supposed to be fiscally and financially responsible with how we move in the market, and I'm okay with it. I don't know. But apart from that, I have still have full faith we'll get the business done. I'm not worried about it. I think, I understand the angst about some fans who just want to get that key signing in early, and it's important we do, but it didn't have to be in June. It didn't have to be now. You know what I mean? There's still time for us to make the smart decision. And as long as we make the smart decision, I'm fine with it.
Drew, give yourself and your podcast a shout out. Tell people where they can find you, mate.
Yeah, you can always find me at KichiKid on Twitter whenever I decide to be on Twitter, which isn't often these days because Twitter is horrendous. You can find me work at OneFootball. I do editing, writing there. And you can also find me on a podcast with Sam and John, who are two friends of the pod at Not That Kind of Gooner. So, yeah.
There you go. Sorry, say it again. You cut out when you said the podcast name.
Oh, not that kind of Gooner, which is
Not
I
that
didn't pick the name.
kind of Gooner.
I didn't pick the name, but it's a hilarious name. So
What you mean by that is I don't agree with the name, but I read Drew like a book. He's an open book to me. Anyway, always a pleasure.
You know me for so long. You certainly do. So yeah.
Nice to see you, bro, and I'll speak to you soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me, buddy. I'll see you later.
See you later. Lovely stuff. Always nice to get Drew on the show. It's a good nostalgic flashback. Sydney is up next. How you doing, Sydney? You good? You well? Take yourself off mute, fella. Yeah. I can see you trying to do it frantically.
Yeah.
Thanks, pal. How you doing?
I'm good. And you? How's your vacation?
It's very nice. Very nice. Much needed. Thank you for asking. How are you?
I'm good. Just joined the hot summer here in Canada, which I don't really like, but just taking it in.
Just got to dig through it, mate. Just got to dig through it. Tell me, mate, what your feeling is about Christian Norgaard.
Quite frankly, I am very much indifferent. I don't really know much about him. From like when you look at the trends with so many people on social media right now, some are like, yeah, he's crap. He can't do much. Some are like, oh no, he's very defensive. So for me, I look at it as when we first signed, what was his name, Raya, there was a lot of debate as to who's better between him and Ramsdale, and we were proven wrong. Raya is better. So at this point, I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm just going to leave it up to the experts. For them to go and chunk in 11 million euros for him, I believe they've done their assessment to say, hey, this is a better option to go through. And I think what most people fail to understand is when you look at the way the transfer market is going, I know a lot of fans coming up, oh yeah, look at Liverpool spending 100 million plus on this guy. They're spending this, they're buying this. The same thing with Man City. And I keep asking, there was this podcast I watched, I think it was, I can't remember his name. He said, people say Arsenal spent 700 million and that's a lot of money and Arteta hasn't won anything. And someone said 700 million in the transfer market is nothing. Like it's not even it hasn't really done much, which is true because you look at what Arteta took over. Most of those players had to be paid off to leave. We don't know what that paid off is. We don't know how much that is. Then you talk about the players we had to bring in. I know some people were making comments about Kai Havertz making 200 and something K a week and all that. I'm like, first of all, when you look at the media and whatever reports they're making on how much wages certain players make, I don't think that is accurate because we don't know what that. I don't think they give that information out. And most of the people that post whatever they post on this wage structure, you don't know what that wage structure is. It could be bonuses, appearances, goals that raises it up all the way up to 300, to 275, whatever it is, right? So you don't know what exactly that wage structure is. So you can't judge the club or the player on that. And then when you talk about the spending, I don't know who is in charge of the business, but when you're doing a business, it's not just by buying players. You're talking about the players you already have. How much are you paying them? You're talking about the caretakers, the gym, the doctors, the field, everything. All that is money. So where do you think the money is coming from? Someone say, yeah, I'm paying whatever price you're paying on the ticket to go watch the game. Yes, that goes into something. Someone will say, what about the money we make from second or from finishing and the quarterfinals in the Champions League and all that? I'm like, yes, but then again, I just said, look out the expenses involved. It's not just about bringing players. It's a lot of expenses. So you can't just go in and say the club should spend this. Then some people say, why can't we spend like the way Man City does or Liverpool because they have their own, or like Chelsea where they sell whatever they sell to kind of cook the books a little bit, allegedly, whatever that is.
Good word.
We don't do that. We try to stick to the rules, right? If we do that and come into questions, then we'd be like, why did you do it? And so it's kind of like there's no winning in the whole situation. And then people come in and say, yeah, we sign people late. Honestly, I would say yes to a degree. We do sign. I won't say we sign late. I think we announce it late. That's because right now we've been told Zubimendi has been done since January.
Yeah,
and it's done. Kepa the same thing. But again, it's just the announcement we're waiting for, which we haven't seen. Yeah, I can understand that, but people need to be patient. Like the preseason hasn't begun, and we're just entering we're close to July 1st. Then we can start seeing things. If by August 1st and we haven't made any significant sign, then we can start to panic and say, hey, what are you guys doing? But for me right now, I'm like, I'm just taking it one step at a time, looking at everything. And then one thing that I noticed with the media, I think someone was saying it here, where we kind of have this, I don't know what to call it, I say euphoria from all the whole comments about transfer. 1 minute, oh, Gyökeres wants Arsenal. 1 minute, oh, Šeško doesn't want Arsenal. Da, da, da. I'm like, there is like right now the news is so bad that you see one comment. I remember we were for Sesko last season, summer. And if I'm not mistaken, there was a comment where he agreed to personal terms. Now, we are here now in this summer, and we're having to hear, oh, he's not agreeing to personal terms. What could have changed between last summer and this summer? It makes no difference.
Even as early as this Norgaard story, right? So I've seen pretty high profile people, one saying personal terms are done, another credible high profile person saying personal terms are not done. One saying the fee is agreed, one saying the fee's not agreed. Like that's the day and age we're in right now, is that and I think that comes from a desire, not necessarily these people in particular, but just in general, there's such a necessity to be first than there necessarily is to be right, that there's a rush to get in. I feel it. I feel that pressure. You know, I got such backlash that day, the day before I left for Canada, putting the story about Zubimendi that, you know, Real Madrid, there had been discussions and there were attempts to try and convince him. You know, that came from a very, very good source, you know, that Real Madrid genuinely were keen, well, in particular, Xabi Alonso, keen on Martin Zubimendi, but in the end, too much has happened with Arsenal. That deal advanced to such a point where there was no chance of Real Madrid. Like, it would have been the most almighty shock if Real Madrid had managed to do that. They didn't, completely unsurprisingly. But there's such like this swell of necessity and aggregation, of course, as well, that goes around, and that transfers has become in itself, not just transfers, the reporting of transfers become such a business that it creates kind of this swell of noise and this chaotic soup where it's hard to differentiate between what's actually going on. If you know,
I think it was Clive that was saying stuff like, at this point he's tired of using certain words anymore, because it's like with the media kind of twist a lot of words right now that you're very careful not to use, like concrete club. So what does concrete club mean? Like
advanced.
It's crazy right
discussions, now. Whatever word you want to use.
It is quite challenging, because I feel like right now for me, it's, if we were to sign, say for example, Sesko, Rodrygo, Zubimendi, Norgaard, and probably I think Hato is the defender that we're looking at right now, which to me I feel like we should be going for a more right-sided center back than a left, because I think we have a lot, but I kind of understand where it's coming from. Then we don't sell any of the major players we have, especially in our attacking front. Then I look at the season and say, you know what, good to go. We should be fine. Some people will say the names or the people we're bringing in isn't enough, or it's not enough. And I'm like, there was this stuff someone said the other day, said sometimes superstars don't make the team. For example, look at PSG. They had Messi, Neymar, Mbappe, and they couldn't win the Champions League. Now, Bacola, I don't think I ever knew who that was until recent. Or the other French guy, like certain names that we don't think are superstars, and look at it, they've won the Champions League. So it's not about the name of the player; it's more about the team and the mindset. Because I think, especially with the whole conversation of Gyokeres and Sesko, who is better? For me, I just go with whoever the manager says he wants, give it to him. If that player comes in with everybody around him, I want to feel like everybody's going to be better. Because I think there's this notion that if you're not a superstar and you don't come to Arsenal, we can't win shit. And I don't think that's true, because at the end of the day, everybody, like, take for example when Leicester won the Premier League, how many superstars are in that team? I don't think there's any superstar there. So it's not about the superstars, it's more about the players and their mentality. This team is good, and I think people fail to understand that if I look at the last season, the last 3 seasons, we finished second 3 times. The first time was 5 points behind Man City. And that was, if I was to look at that properly, a lot of games we lost and drew were due to a lot of mistakes from the referees. Then you go into the second season, we finished 2 points behind City again. Some of those games also referee decisions. Forget our injuries and all that. And then this season, people say, "Oh yeah, Liverpool, they didn't buy anybody." I'm like, first of all, Liverpool don't have a quack team. Slot inherited a very good team. Now he is also lucky enough to have a fully fit team that didn't have that much of an injury crisis compared to Arsenal.
Particularly to their most key players is
exactly. So you look at that and compare and say, try to understand where the whole, and then this is the same team that didn't even finish 89 points that we did prior to that. So what does that tell you? It shows you there's a little bit of a difference to say Arsenal and Arteta did very well to maintain that second, even though we did drop a lot of points. But then I don't know, Tom, is there a way to, I've been asking people around this, it's kind of like the Premier League is one of the best league in the country, in the world, pretty much. Now, when the manager or players misbehave on the pitch or off the pitch on the press conference, there's a fine. There's a consequence to them to say we did this. Why can't we do the same thing to the referees? Because I feel
they
like
are the authority, isn't it? It's because they are the authority. So,
but to me, I feel like there should be like a body to say, hey, when referees make mistakes, costly mistakes at that. For example, look at the Newcastle situation with Aston Villa. Aston Villa should have gone into the Champions League, but because of a very costly mistake from the referee. Now, I feel like if that's the case, referees should be held to certain standards as well. Say,
I agree.
You make this mistake. People say, oh yeah, but referees are being what's the word? They're being dropped. They're being suspended. When they're suspended, do they
down
get paid?
A division, they miss a weekend of action. You know, that's.
But they're still getting paid, right?
Yeah, but I don't think you can. I don't think you can ethically fine. I mean, imagine like whatever. I don't know what you do as a job, but like, say you make a mistake in your work that you do as a job. You're not gonna. Imagine if your company turned around and said you didn't complete this task correctly, we're going to fine you. Like, I don't think realistically they could do that, because like with players, like they get fines if they get yellow cards or red cards or whatever. It's stuff like that. There are fines implemented for those things, but it's not the same as like a referee making a mistake in a game. The accountability on that front should be they lose access to more high-profile games, or they miss a weekend of action, or I don't. To be fair, when a referee misses a weekend, I don't know if they miss out on pay. I don't know if pay is done by game or monthly or whatever. But I imagine they don't necessarily miss out financially if they miss a weekend because they've been taken off of games for a certain amount of time. I get where you're coming from, and I think the basis of the argument that referees should be held accountable and there should be a consequence for their mistakes is absolutely fair. I just don't think you can necessarily implement a financial.
The reason why I say financial is more of like, because I feel like when in life, when something financial hits you, it hits you, like you feel it. So you're being probed not to make that mistake again. So if financial isn't the way to go, then there should be something else to say, hey, we need to put you on notice, like you're really making this bad, because it's so bad. Because when you see mistakes after mistakes, and if the mistakes were like 1 in a million, then that's fine. But the mistakes are so consistent, and it's so bad. And it's like a game at 12 o'clock, you see this mistake, and the next game an hour on the same day, the almost identical same mistakes. So you ask, what is going on? Like, isn't there like, don't they have meetings? Don't they have reviews? Say, okay, we're doing this. This is wrong. We need to stop this. Yeah,
the ironic thing is they do. There are performance reviews. There are reviews of the officiating, and yet the frustration is it's not getting any better. In fact, it's probably getting worse. So, more needs to be done on that front. But I'm conscious that June 25th, talking about referees. My goodness, how pained we are about officiating. But Sydney, thank you so much for your call. I really appreciate your time. Thank you, pal.
Likewise. Thank you.
Lovely stuff. Elliot's up next. How you doing, Elliot? Good fan of the phone-ins, as always. How you doing?
Tom, how are you, sir? Hope you can hear me.
We're bringing in 3 players before the end of June. I'm buzzing. You must be buzzing too, right?
Yes, and you got to discover our country's West. How was that, Tom?
Canada was good. It's good. I put this in the message. Went from Vancouver Island, amazing. Absolutely amazing. Flew to Calgary, drove to drove to Canmore and looked around Canmore and stayed in and looked around Banff as well. Then drove up to Jasper.
Okay.
Jasper, brilliant.
Okay.
Drove down from Jasper. Sorry, before Jasper, we went to Golden and then drove from Golden up to Jasper and then went from Jasper to Kelowna, which is like the California of Canada, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
It was
country,
nice.
right.
It was very California-y, is what I'd describe it as. And then drove from Kelowna back to Vancouver. The only thing I didn't like about the trip, despite buying a shirt, was Vancouver. I'm not the biggest fan. Didn't really like it.
Vancouver is it's a very picturesque city, but it has a few issues,
There were bits I liked. There were bits like Granville Island. Really like Granville Island. Really like where were we? We were down like the beachfront, around the Eastern Way from. I think it was like a kind of a nice sunset place. But I thought it was, with respect, a bit rough in some places. That we were.
It is a bit rough. It is a bit rough.
But London could be rough, to be fair. Like London has rough parts too. So.
Lord knows I know that. Absolutely. Absolutely. But I'm glad you had a great trip. But again, that Alberta, BC border, it's really picturesque and it's great. And if you can come back for skiing, even better. If you get out to Whistler.
Yes, it will be on the list now. We are converted very much to loving Canada, but it's good. But yes, talk to me. As I said, you must be happy that 3 signings coming in before July.
I am, but listen, I am pleased for the fact that we have such a competent man who is the sporting director at this club. He is doing a magnificent job, and it's going very, very much under the radar. Partey's leaving. Guess what? Norgaard comes in. We have Neto leaving. Guess what? Kepa comes in for a fraction of the price,
Virginia
up to
leaving.
£15 million for 2 players. Let's face facts. And as you said, with regards to Norgaard, Brentford are kicking themselves. Brentford supporters are absolutely
fuming.
They're fuming because of this guy coming in. But listen, this is the first time, and I want everybody to take this in. I mean, yes, there is the frustration not getting a striker, not getting our guy Rodrygo in, but in due course, I think
it's coming. Don't worry,
it's coming. It's coming. But one thing I'll say about this window is that we are in control. We're in control of our destiny. We're in control of the players that we bring in. We're in control of the players that are going out, and we can never say that about Adu. It was a one-shot chance. Hopefully, he comes in, and if not, what's Plan B? Oh, you get to bring in a Raheem Sterling. That's not happening here, and that's the reason why we brought in Andrea Berta. Andrea Berta is a guy who loves to hold all the cards, and give us a breadth of choices we can choose from that are not only good, but economical at the same time. To come in and turn around and pivot from the likes of Thomas Partey, who's one of the best midfielders in the Premier League, to a Norgaard, who's one of the more underrated midfielders in the Premier League. Believe me, Brentford supporters don't scream and shout in disgust for nothing. They knew that he was their hidden gem. They're losing Thomas Frank. They're losing Mbeumo. They've lost Ivan Toney. For them to lose this guy too is a blow. And for us to take him on and see him as a backup to Zubimendi, and him being, as you said, I've heard that Norgaard will be our oldest player as of this year, 31. Guys, he will.
Oh, Norgaard will be our oldest player. Yeah, he will. Yeah,
he will be our oldest player, guys. For a team that wants to challenge for the Champions League, that wants to challenge for the Premier League, to get your age down and still keep your qualities high. What are we complaining about here, guys? The frustration comes with.
It's nice to hear you say those words, Elliot.
No. I know. I've been prone to have a bellyache here, and you know what? I have nothing to bellyache about because we're in control of our destiny, guys. Let it be said, we are in control of our destiny. we hold the cards. When you have a Gyokeres and a Šeško literally waiting for Arsenal to move, and we're negotiating for two of the best strikers in the world, and for Gyokeres to be, basically doing handstands for us to bring him in, and everybody's saying, how is it that these guys are making this possible? They didn't exactly win anything last year. It's a testament to Berta. It's a testament to our system. It's a testament to what we have going forward. And listen, I just say, Arteta's one thing, and listen, he's doing a rather good job, but I want to see results this year, as you know, Tom. But for Berta to come in and do the job he's doing, it's remarkable. It's really changed the look and the presence of the side worldwide. And you know what? For us to be just sitting back and saying, yeah, the striker's coming. Yeah, Rodrygo may be coming, but at least we'll have an alternative in good standing. And we're hearing about Leao wanting to come to Arsenal as well. But it's up to us. It's not up to them anymore. It's up to us. And that's how it should be for a big club like Arsenal. For sure. Elliot, I can't add anything to that. I think you summed it up. I think that I'm really interested to hear what our follow-up callers are going to say, but it's nice to hear positivity from you, my friend. It really is. It's a change of pace, I know, but listen, it's hot as balls out here. It's 36 degrees. I must be the weather. Yeah. It got really hot in Canada after I left. Is what happened. We had some good moments, to be fair. We're in the cooker, but I'm glad you had a great time out here. Thanks, man. I hope you can get out to the East Coast, get out to Toronto when you have a chance, mate, because I tell you what, it's a fabulous city we have here as well. But again, I'm glad you enjoyed the West, because again, it's one of our best kept secrets, and it's great to have you back. It's great to see the studio. Studio looks magnificent. Thanks, mate. Appreciate that. A lot of work's gone into this. Really, really good. Really cool. Finish, but yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, it looks really, really cool. I saw your updates this morning. I was like, hey, man, this guy's going places. He must have a good job out there. Something. Journalism, so well paid is journalism. Not. Anyway, thank you so much, Elliot, for your time. Really appreciate it, as usual. Cheers, mate. And hey, great work. And hey, look forward to your updates coming forward. Yeah. Thanks, man. See you soon. Yeah. Bye-bye. Lovely stuff. Those that are waiting in the queue, I did. If you look at the private chat, I left a running order for you. So just go over to that private chat. I am going to quickly go to Luke before Simo. Simo, there's a message for you in the chat. Just give that a read before I chuck you on. Let's go to Luke then. Luke, how you doing, mate? You good? You well? Take yourself off mute, and I'll be able to hear what you're saying.
Hey, Tom. Well, welcome back. I will say the last 2 weeks have been actually nice. I kind of cut myself off. Not having to look at this ugly mug is what you mean. That, yeah, and listening to all the rumors too. So it's been great. It's been great.
Well, I appreciate you tuning in and listening, and I hope the break's been good for you as well. Tell me what it is you want to talk about.
I mean, so I just read your article about Norgaard, kind of comparing him to Partey and kind of like being the upgrade on Jorginho. And stuff. I think it'd be a great bit of business. What was it, like 9 mil and then 5 mil for Kepa? I think that maybe gives us some more money to play around elsewhere.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, some of my questioning was, because some of my friends and stuff had said like, oh, maybe MLS can get a spot in the midfield. Not saying that bringing him in cuts any chance off of that. Because like I'd love to have Hato on our team as a left back, but I mean, I think if we can do some, some savvy business things, this summer as well as getting, the big 9 or the big 11 for us, whatever that is, Sesko, Gyokeres, Rodrygo, any of those, I think that'd be great. I mean, I think Mikel Marino was another kind of big floor raiser. Mm-hmm. Obviously he came in clutch as the number 9 that we've actually all been looking for, but I think if we can get some guys that help us out in those last 20 minutes of games that we can't, when we subbed off, who was it, Jorginho got injured or something in one of the last games of the season. I think it'd be good just to have some more bench players that are useful and fitting the system that Arteta wants to play.
Yeah, I think that's really well summed up. I think that the fitting the system is important. Yes, I think players adapt. Yes, I think you have to as a club adapt to players when you bring them in, but I was talking with Drew earlier on in the show. Brentford play a really good transitional game, and bringing the player in that kind of sits at the fulcrum of that transition of turning over from defence to attack is a really good sign for what we want. We want to be quicker as a team when we move the ball up the field, and Norgaard will definitely help with that. So that's a really positive thing too. And I think, that Premier League experience. What did you think about Sammy Mokbel and the Mail reporting that Arsenal, were very keen on 23-year-old Lucien Agumo, who's been highly rated at Sevilla, but instead Arteta's kind of focused in on the Premier League experience of Norgaard instead.
I think it's a good sign because obviously, Jorginho is very considered like the wise player on the team. I know a few like the Arsenal interviews, people had said that Jorginho would probably be one of the better coaches.
Yeah.
Of the players who would leave. So I think someone who's got the Premier League experience is going to be great. And I think it was kind of something that I thought about when we were thinking that Chalk was going to stay and we were getting Declan Rice, of having that the leadership of those midfield trios being really strong, of Odegaard and at the time Chalk and Declan Rice, who was also the captain at West Ham at the time. I think having another guy who's played captain for a different team for a while is going to be good for us. Give us some, strong spine.
Yeah, I agree. Sesko and Gyokeres, who's your preference? Just out of curiosity before you go.
So your video talking about, the Sesko stats being a little better compared with, Isak at the time of Sociedad. I like Sesko. Yeah. I worry that Gyokeres is maybe a little more counterattack. And I don't know if that's what we're doing, ever. I mean, at least last season, how many times did we say send a through ball and we slow the game down? But I mean, I think
it's interesting that as well, because I think that's a really important how Gyokeres kind of suits the quick kind of on the counter transition type moves. He is good in the box, he can move the ball well in the box, and that's why he scored as many goals as he has. But there's also been times, ironically, where I felt Arsenal have been lacking in the transition when we've got into those counter-attacking scenarios. We've got the ball forwards, and we've got Mikel Merino up there,
right?
And it's probably a bit unfair on Kai Havertz because Havertz has been missing for so long, means we've kind of missed that. And I remember who was it? The goal that he scored. Was it Brighton away? Not last season, season before, where we played a through ball and Havertz was cleaning through and had the pace to get beyond the defender and then chipped the goalkeeper or went around the goalkeeper. I can't remember if it was Brighton away the season before last.
He did that, and then he also even the City game. He missed a sitter early, but then he made that great run from Martinelli's pass and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, not the one that he passed. Yeah, Martinelli's run, and then he played in Havertz.
Then
and
he passes.
Back
Havertz.
Yeah, you're right. So I think that's the transition's definitely a big part of that. It's a really important point. So I think there's two sides to that transition argument. As you pointed out, do we play a style that doesn't really lend itself to Gyokeres? But equally, is Gyokeres then going to add qualities that would make us better when we have those situations, and maybe we'll create those situations more frequently with a player like Gyokeres? So
right. Yeah. And I guess I'll just say one last thing is if we don't sign everybody, July 1st, I think Berta out, Arteta out, just sell the team,
we'll go support Leipzig instead. Yeah,
exactly.
Luke, absolute pleasure. Thank you for your call, mate.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you. Lovely stuff. Simo is up next, who by the way, when Elliot was speaking, Simo in the green room was going like this.
Blazing, mate.
I want to know why you're blazing. Tell me.
Mate, basically,
nice to meet you, by the way.
We welcome you from the. I'm in Bali, and I'm the head of the Balinese Arsenal fan club. First of all, we want to say. We want to say, mate, we missed you while you were in Canada, severely, and we did like you, mate. We switched our phones off, and then we switched them back on when you came back online.
Thanks, mate.
I've been listening to your callers tonight, and look, mate, I have time for all Arsenal fans, but I think I listened to the chat before, and he was going on about Edu, right?
Yeah.
And the structure that Edu brought into the club, and genuinely, I've been an Arsenal fan since the late 80s, and since Wenger left, we feel like we're compiling something right now. Like, we are structured. We feel like we're going somewhere. Edu ditches, right? And now all the fans can do is toss up between Sesko and Gyokeres, right? But what you're missing is not you personally, but we are missing the key element, which is part of this transaction, which is Berta, right? Historically, based on data, does Berta work on buying prime, or does he work on investment in a youngster who has potential that if he doesn't work out, right, we can bin him for, say we spend 80 racks on Sesko right now, and we bin him in 3 years' time for 50, like as a businessman, that works out better than signing a Gyokeres who's been playing in a third world fucking Premier League, right? He's got no resale value. If he torches it, if he doesn't work out, we're stuck with a lump, If we get Sesko for, say we bag 80 bins on him, right? And then in 2 years' time, we get 50 for him, we can go back and reinvest. Now, my question to you, Tom, is
embraced.
Not who do we sign up front, right? Which pairing do we go for up front? Would you take a Rodrygo on the left and a Gyokeres up front, or would you take a Sesko up front and a reinforcement of central midfield? And central midfield can include DM, CM, AM.
That's interesting. So if you told me, say, okay, so let's say it's Rodrygo and Gyökeres, or it's Sesko and
Camavinga.
Or
Eze,
Camavinga. I mean, they didn't.
Oh, mate, can you imagine? Can you imagine the three?
Yeah. The thing, I'm trying to think what gives us the most plus
rounded.
Because like Rodrygo, I really like. So when you said Rodrygo and Gyökeres, I really like Rodrygo, and I think a front three of Rodrygo, Saka, and Gyökeres is exciting.
Tom, can I put my hands up?
Yeah, of course you can.
Do you not think that Rodrygo and Havertz would be just as solid? Do you not think that Havertz on the ball?
So Rodrygo, Havertz, Saka is what you're saying.
Do you not think that Havertz on the ball, Havertz on the ball, in my opinion, is one of the best players to watch? If you put a Rodrygo in that situation and invested in midfield, right? Take that out of the equation and you shove, even if you shove an Isak up front, right? You've got a Havertz who can hold up playing. You've got Saka and Rodrygo playing in from the wing, who can get 12, 13 each. Like,
Oh, so I think a better question. Let me throw it back.
I think from the fans' perspective, there's too much focus on one position, and I think we need to. I think you need to look at a grander picture. And if you've got,
I'd throw a question back at you, Simo, and I'd say maybe the better question is to say, would you rather have Rodrygo and say that's that midfield reinforcement that you were talking about, or Sesko or Gyökeres and the midfield reinforcement? Because I think guaranteeing Rodrygo this summer plus a very good midfield addition as well.
I think Rodrygo is the answer.
Yeah, but I don't.
I think the winger is the answer. I think if you put Havertz up front and you have Saka and Rodrygo on the wings, it doesn't matter who you play up front. You get away with the Mourinho shit that we played out for the end of the back season. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who you put up front. Whoever's in the middle is going to score goals because you've got that much creativity and you've got 12, 13, 14 goals in you. I don't think there's too much tension and there's too much onus on Sesko or Gyökeres. Obviously, we all know the Gyökeres fear is that he's playing in third world Premier League, and we know the Sesko fear. But
disrespect.
But mate, we're fans, man. We love this.
Hey, look, I've sat here and said I don't rate the Portuguese league particularly highly, especially when you're playing for the most dominant side in that league. You know, everything is set up for Gyökeres to do that.
He did it in Champions League as well, which
when
you hit form, you can take that form anywhere.
Yeah, that's fair.
Sesko has rocked it. Sesko has rocked it around the rough. Yeah,
Sesko scored against some massive opponents, like Champions League and Bundesliga. He has scored Atleti, Juve, Bayern, Dortmund. He scored against big teams in big.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
For a team that does not create
Gyokeres has been
a lot of chances.
The thing that I've seen with Sesko is that he'll go 2-3 games without hitting form, but then he'll smash a couple versus Bayern. And that's the opportunistic. For me personally, I see what Arteta sees, right? And I know that he's not desperate for a forward, right? He wants the right one. But what he needs to do is complete his front line.
Yeah.
And for me, slamming Rodrygo on the left, man, when you come to next season, if you play Havertz up front this season, when you come to next season, if you've got Saka and Rodrygo on the right and the left, mate, people will be crying out to play with us, man. And we're not going to be paying fucking $500,000 for some Nordic fucking Viking twat.
You destroyed the monetization of this video. It's why I don't monetize these videos before I.
Please don't, man. Please don't, man. I'll just put a donation on it. But mate, we don't need that. Yeah, you do it from the wing and you leave Havertz there, mate. And I think we do the league. I think we do the league, mate. I think we do the league. Yeah,
I hope you're right, because if we do the league, it'll be brilliant, especially with those players, and I think it'll be exciting too. So, absolute pleasure. Send love to the. Is it pronounced Balinese? Balinese?
Yeah, man. It's the Bali Arsenal massive, and we're here for you, man. We love your content, and like I said, we were homesick without you, man. But we're happy you enjoyed Canada. So
thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having us on, man, and love to the Gooners, man.
Indeed. Thank you, mate. Lovely stuff. Lovely stuff from Simo. That's it. And that's why whenever I create those phone-in shows, I'm like, there's a little monetization tab, and I'm like, not yet. And Simo's showing me why, but he's brilliant in terms of his contribution. So thank you, Simo. Really appreciate that. Oz is up next. How you doing, Oz? You good? You well?
Hello. Yeah, I'm well. Thank you.
Thank you for joining me, mate. Tell me what it is you want to talk about.
Yeah, I've just finished my own live. Just before you went live.
You're live. Sorry, I thought you said live. I was like,
no, live, YouTube live.
Indeed.
And I think everyone already talked about what I want to talk about. So I just want to add about the feeling about the fans in here. And so in Indonesian fans, I think about this Christian Nørgaard is, I think the feeling is almost like when you're in Christmas and the neighbor's kid got PS5 and your mom get you a Nintendo Switch, and mom, you buy me a Nintendo Switch, I want a PS5. That. Yeah,
the most ungrateful. Those videos that go around every Christmas of small children opening like a games console that wasn't exactly what they wanted. You're like,
I think the feeling's like that, man. because Liverpool just bought Words for 150, and City with their 5 players.
However many they've signed.
And we still have not get our marquee signings.
Sure.
So,
Zubi is definitely a marquee signing for me.
Zubi. But because of the Marca news about him, about almost going to Real Madrid. I think that makes the feeling about Zubimendi is somewhat tainted. Something, I always write in my videos. I always say those news are hoax. Like, why are you mad at Zubimendi? I mean, like that news are just making.
There's no reason to get annoyed at Zubi just because Xabi Alonso wanted him. If anything, that's a reason to be happy about the fact that Arsenal signed Zubimendi.
And I think we already got him like early this month, but because Sociedad wants the transaction to be finished in July for their financial fair play accounting needs. So we already got Zubimendi, and I think he's one of the best defensive midfield in the market right now. So I think we already got a good signing. So we don't need to be feeling jealous with Liverpool and City, and now with Norgaard, it's the feeling is like we're replacing Partey.
Yeah.
Well,
how long have people moaned about Arsenal being slow? We find out this week Partey's not staying. Within hours, we are in talks and basically have already wrapped up the replacement.
And the feeling is that the Norgaard is far below Partey's level, while what I want to say is Norgaard is for replacing Jorginho, not replacing Thomas Partey, because we want to put him as the backup, not the main player as number
Partey
6.
would have become the number 2. Zubi would have been the number 1.
So
the number 1,
it's not that we're replacing Partey, but we're replacing Jorginho, and Norgaard to be replacing Jorginho is a very, very good replacement. And so that's the thing. It's just like, come on, man, we just got 2 new players. Don't feel like.
Oh, I agree, mate. I agree with you. Oz, what an absolute pleasure to speak with you. Thank you so much for calling in. I really appreciate it. Speak to you soon.
Yeah, thank you.
Lovely stuff. Anthony is up next. Always a pleasure to catch up on a phone in. How you doing, mate? You good? You well? What are you laughing for already?
I'm good. Welcome back, Tom. You were missed, man. I was waking up 8 o'clock in the morning. It's like, damn. No 8 o'clock morning show by Tom, but yeah, glad you're back, mate. Glad you're back.
I was curious. I had so many people. I had some person message me. Let me see if I can find the comment that was sent to me this morning. Actually, it was yesterday when I put the post up saying the show's returning. It's from Nick, who said, "I can't believe it. Someone said you was dead." So I hope that everyone's had a good 2 weeks and maybe detoxed a little bit, or maybe you've just jammed yourselves down a rabbit hole that it's even worse. I don't know. But yeah, tell me where you're at, mate.
Quite surprised. I know there was links to Norgaard a few days ago. You know, obviously Spurs, because of what's the Brentford manager who's gone to Spurs?
Frank.
Yeah, that's it. Because he's gone to Spurs, there was loose reports that Frank wanted Norgaard and a couple of other players to go to Spurs, and then obviously we were linked with him just in case Thomas Partey did leave. When I messaged you today earlier on and I said that the team's weaker than it was last year, the only reason why I said that is because if you look at Zubimendi's going to need time to adapt. I wouldn't have mind keeping Thomas Partey for that initial year or two, just for Zubimendi to get up to speed with the Premier League, because them fixtures that we got, it's hell. I looked at those fixtures and I was just like, I just put my hands in my head and saying, it's gonna be a long season. Yeah. And that's but
also it's an opportunity, mate, because if they come through those games strongly, win at United, beat Leeds, you've built up a couple of games, you then go into Newcastle after that, and win those games. Obviously, you've got Liverpool, you've got City. It's tough. But if you come through those games and say you've picked up 15 out of 18 points, you're laughing, right?
Yeah, and that's that's what I think as well, because Liverpool,
scary.
Yeah, what Liverpool are doing now, and obviously there's loose reports about, they can spend over 100 million to prizes away from Newcastle.
Yeah, I'd be absolutely shocked if that happens. Yeah.
Well, they've got the money to, they've got the money to spend. You know what I'm saying? And it would
I don't know if they have 150 odd million for one other player. Well, obviously there's suggestions that they want Gyökeres as well, obviously from Haaland. So yeah.
But just going back to the point, I don't know. Those Thomas Partey situation.
Yeah,
I think they could.
I can't think they can justify paying him that. Well, he was already a top earner, £200,000 per week plus. To go up another level when I think is a stretch. To be fair,
I know, and for it to get to the situation now where they've left it until the last year of his, left it until he's a free agent.
Yeah.
personally, I think they should have revisited that before it got to this stage, because
sure,
a lot of people online is just saying that, Norgaard, yes, he is, he's experienced. If we do get the other guy in from Seville, which there was a tweet saying that we still could go back in for him, plus Norgaard, then that would take the burden off going forward. But the striker situation, it's just, that's a joke in itself, in terms of what's going on with Sesko, what's going on with Gyokeres. 1 minute is swinging towards Sesko, next minute is swinging towards Gyokeres. People say, Sesko is following Arsenal, but yeah, he's following Man City, he's following other players, and Gyokeres is like, he doesn't want to go back to Portugal because Hugo Verona, who's now at Man City, he gave him the agreement that he could leave at a cheaper price than the 100 million that we thought, and now that the new sporting directors come out and said, no, that's not the case.
I think it's been quite consistent though, Anthony, because when you look at the stories, as if you look at the shows we done like a month, 2 months ago, we've been very consistent. I think it's been there's a lot of noise and bluster around the whole thing, but it's very clear that Sesko is the player that they would prefer. Gyokeres is a player that they still like and appreciate a lot. And the issue is obviously that Berta's being very smart in, going down the line with both of those profiles and being ready if one can't happen to move for the other. But there are financial challenges, of course, with both of those in the negotiation with both clubs. So I think despite all of the bluster and noise around both, I still think it's pretty linear in how it's going. Arsenal will be in talks with both. If they can't agree on a deal for Sesko, I think they'll push more aggressively with Gyokeres. That's how I feel it is based on what I know.
Yeah, and again, it just goes back to the point, the disrespect that I've been seen in terms of for, Gyokeres, that, yes, he's played in the Portuguese league and the teams below him are equivalent to the Champions League. We've had this conversation, like, I've warned to Sesko because I can understand what the manager wants going forward in terms of he wants that younger player going forward, and whether he displaces Kai Havertz in the near future, that's yet to be seen, going forward. My feeling is the left wing. Rodrygo, that's a gamble. And that's
a gamble in what way is it a gamble?
A gamble in the sense that, I was watching your show this morning. He has made no indication he wants to leave Real Madrid.
No, not yet.
And this is the overarching issue, regardless if we get Gyokeres or Sesko. That left-hand side, it needs an upgrade. Rafael Leao, seen wearing a Thierry Henry, t-shirt the other day. People say that he's lazy, just down the other bar. He needs to get that left-hand side sorted. You can't be banking on a guy who, new managers come in. He may want him to stay going forward. Perez may want him to, if Florentino says that he's staying, I don't think Rodrygo's got a choice in the matter, and he stays. We are taking a massive gamble to wait on a guy who may not come to the football club. And again, the longer we wait for him to be patient, other targets gone. Nico Williams, we all know that he was never going to leave Spain. He wanted to go to Barcelona. He's got his wish. The left hand, Gittins looks like he's going to Chelsea. The only two wingers out there now who are marquee signing is Leao and Rodrygo. I would take the punt and I'll go for
Barcola, maybe.
Barcola, from what Fabrizio was saying, Barcola
doesn't seem like he's going to move.
Yeah. So the only two options now is Rodrygo, who you do not know is going to leave.
Yeah.
Leao wants to come to Arsenal. I would take a punt and I'll go for Leao. As people say he's lazy, he's inconsistent, he'll frustrate you like Martinelli. I would rather go for him than waiting for Rodrygo, because if Rodrygo doesn't pan out, we're going to be left with egg on our face again.
I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying, and I think it's born out of it's not spontaneous. It's born out of obviously things we've missed in previous seasons.
Because last summer was Nico Williams. Last summer we was waiting for Nico Williams. You know what I'm saying? So again, it goes back to that point. They're playing a dangerous game with that left-hand side. That needs to get sorted. Martinelli, Trossard, they haven't hit the heights that they're supposed to. It's all on the right-hand side with Saka. I feel sorry for him because he's having to do the work which Martinelli or Trossard should be doing on the left-hand side. We need to get that left-hand side, and regardless of the striker we get in, that's still not going to make a difference. We need to get that left-hand side sorted. So instead of waiting for a man who may not come, go for Leao, just like take the punt. If Rodrygo says he stays, boom, quickly. If Leao's still there, because I know Bayern Munich sniffing around because Sane's gone to.
What if this happens though? That's a what if. We sign Leao, and he is the inconsistent kind of player that he is, an inconsistent player. I know he's got a big upside, and I like a lot about him, but it's the consistency is my issue with Leao. And then say a Chelsea or somebody else, maybe not Chelsea because obviously going for Gittins, but say a Champions League rival ends up getting Rodrygo at the end of the window because he becomes available. And then we look back and go, well, why didn't we, if he was there, Arsenal could have moved in the same way. Will we not be looking back and going, why didn't we just, be patient with that wide player, considering we've already got Martinelli and Trossard? It's not like the centre forward area where we absolutely need to bring somebody in categorically, no question, for most people. But on the left, you've already got Martinelli and Trossard. You can afford to be patient with that position in this window and potentially wait on a massive opportunity. Do you know what I'm saying?
Get that. No, I get that. And when I was going back to terms of Leao, if Rodrygo, for argument's sake, if it's, say, August, and we find out what the situation is, if he's saying that he's staying, then go for Leao. But if there is an opportunity to bring him, that's fantastic. We got him in, we got the marquee signing going forward, then we can do our business going forward in terms of if we need to bring anyone else. If there's for argument's sake, Xavi Simons, I was preaching the other day, I was saying, listen, if Better's trying to get Sesko, Sweet taught them to get in a double move for Simons as well. 2 birds with 1 stone. Better, that's what you get paid for. You're the sporting director. You've done incredible of Atletico Madrid. Work your magic and get both of them. I would be more happy to get both of them coming through the door than just one of them, because again, Simons could, he could improve us as well going forward. If Odegaard's not having a great game, you bring on, you bring on Xavi Simons on, and he can do a job. You've seen how he's played against us going forward, what he's done at Leipzig, what he's done at PSG when he's there. So that'll be opportunity, but we just have to wait and see. Like I said, it's only taken us a couple of hours to get a DM in. It's taken us a lot longer to get a striker in. I just hope that
it's harder.
Yeah, it's taken us 5 years to get a striker in, but look, at the end of the day, whoever striker is, if it's Gyökeres or Sesko, I'll still back them either way going forward. It's the team. I'll still back them, even though one would be my preferred choice because he's ready made. He's done it. He's done it consistently going forward. But we just have to wait and see what happens going forward. I hope we just get the guy from Sevilla as well, to lessen the blow going forward, because right now on X it's just a meltdown in terms of bringing him in. And
is that a shock to you?
I think what the situation is that people are saying that if he's going to fork out this money for him, why not just give Thomas Partey either a 2-year contract, because we don't know. We don't know in terms of the money. If it's the money, because apparently it's a 1+1. He wants a 2-year contract. No one knows about the money going forward. There's all speculation, but I don't know. You don't know. The only people that know is Thomas Partey and the Arsenal board going forward. So it is what it is going forward. But,
just before I let you go, Anthony, some breaking news. Sammy Mockbell's reported Arsenal have agreed a deal with Brentford to sign Christian Nørgaard. We don't have the exact fee right now. But I estimated it'd be between. They turned down just under 9 million, I think. So second bid.
I think David Ornstein was
10 to 15.
I think Sammy Mockbell was saying 10 million euros with 5 million add-ons going forward.
It was being discussed. So if it's that, that's great. That's a great deal. So let's wait and see on a fee. But it's a good deal. I will talk about that more, of course, in tomorrow morning's 8 AM show. But Anthony, thank you so much for your time.
Cheers,
as always.
Thanks.
Pleasure. Stay well, mate. See you later. Lovely stuff. Where's my running order? We've got Wilson up next, and then we'll have 3 more after, which are going to be Oso, Bobby, and Bika as well. So Wilson's up next. How you doing, mate? You good? You well?
Hello and welcome back, Tom. How was your don't say that. How was your trip in Canada? And welcome back.
Thanks, mate. It was good. It's very good indeed. Thank you for asking. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing very well. I've got a few. I've got a few things to say. I'm aware that some Arsenal fans think, Arsenal's so slow, not got any players in and all of that. Well, let me give you some facts of my own, because what I like from Berta, right, he's got a sense of control in terms of transfers, his experience, and his know-how.
Yeah.
I think what happened that I think in terms of, let me address the striker situation right now, because this striker situation is driving me crazy day after day after day after day. Day after day. Sesko and Gyokeres. Sesko for me has got potential clearly. I mean, for some Arsenal fans to call him like, oh, Benjamin Tesco, that's disgusting. I mean, give the guy a break for crying out loud. I mean, come on. I'm not. Honestly, I'm not Sesko's biggest fan. If we are going to get Sesko, then I'm not going to be cussing him every single game. I'm not going to do that, because we have to back the guy potentially. As far as Gyokeres is concerned, who is my favourite striker, personally, Tom, because the guy is proven. He scores goals. Not just, all right, the Portuguese Liga is a lesser league from Bundesliga, but he scores big goals in his Portuguese league. He scores goals in the Champions League as well. Well, hang on a minute. In terms of Sesko's concerned, he scores goals in the Champions League against the bigger teams, but edging towards Gyokeres, he's a more proven guy. Personally, a lot of Arsenal fans are talking about we need a striker. I feel like a left-sided winger is needed as well, because Martinelli and Trossard, they just haven't quite reached the heights that I expect personally. And the person I go for is Rodrygo. The guy is proven. The guy scores goals. He's got the trickery. I just feel like he reminds me of that Alexis. It feels like Alexis Sanchez moment, that excitement. And we've lacked that for a long time. If we get like a Rodrygo, a Gyokeres, we've got a Saka on the right-hand side, that's tasty, Tom. That's a tasty front line. And I think that will give a lot of teams, I would say a lot of frights, actually, and a lot of nightmares. What I also like from Berta, he's actually more decisive than Edu, because now Partey's leaving. A few hours later, Norgaard could be coming in. I like the decisiveness of what Berta is doing. And some Arsenal fans are panicking about the duration, the time it's taken, Tom. Where are we? We're in like end of June or something. It's the end of June or something.
Yeah.
If some Arsenal fans are panicking about it, I mean, do me a favor, man.
Arsenal fans have felt in their entire life.
I don't get it. I'm not having to go at you, Tom. I'm not. You are a very intelligent guy, by the way. You are. Well, when it comes to the worst to the worst, if Arsenal do not get any business done by end of July or August, that will be at a point where I'll be really concerned, and I will be fuming. And questions will be asked potentially of Berta and Arteta and the hierarchy, really. I think this summer is very important for Arsenal because it's obvious. The striker situation needs to be addressed. The left-sided winger needs to be addressed. I think Zubimendi's done. I think Norgaard is going to happen now.
Norgaard sounds like we're saying Erdegaard's long lost brother.
Sorry, Norgaard is happening. Sorry, lost it. I think Kepa is happening. I know. And also, I believe that Kepa is happening as well. I think Arsenal need to get a move on, because the sooner we get some of those deals done, the better it will be for those players to potentially prepare and settle in for the pre-season training, which is quite important, just to give a bit of excitement in the place for the Arsenal fans. If we can get all of those players sorted, Tom, as in most or all of it done, I believe we'll definitely challenge for the Premier League title. There's no doubt about it. But get it done, please.
Wilson, I couldn't have said it better myself, my friends, other than the Norgaard bit. But I'm only messing with you, mate. I'm only messing with you.
I know.
Thank you so much for calling in. Always appreciate your energy and excitement. And I'll catch you in the chat box soon, I'm sure.
Anytime, Tom. See you around, guys. See you around.
See you later, mate. Lovely stuff. We got a few more calls before we wrap things up. And I have to get underway with dinner, otherwise the missus is going to kill me. Because we've been going for an hour and 43 minutes. First day back, and I've already done nearly 3 hours of content. Crazy. Who is up next on my list? It is Pete, but he is at to back out. So it's Oso. Here we go. How you doing, mate? You good, Joel?
Hey, how are you doing, Tom?
Yeah, good. It looked like I took you by surprise then. We're like, hey.
Sorry, I have multiple screens going on.
You're all good, man. You're all good. Tell me what you want to talk about, fella.
No, just overall, I love Arsenal. I love our fan base, but we're also some of the most negative fan groups in the world.
Yep. We are.
I love the passion, but the reality is we already have the best backline in Europe. We have the best goalie. We have the best defensive units. We have we're bringing in Zubimendi, which is going to allow Rice and Odegaard to move forward, our captain. And that's even before you start getting into Saka, our star boy. Personally, I'm for Sesko, but at this point, I don't care. Either one at the best price. But yeah, if our front line is Saka, Sesko, and I'm on the Rodrygo train. I watched Leao play.
It's a busy train, I think, to be fair.
Yeah. I've watched Leao play a lot. Frankly, I think Martinelli has the talent. I don't think Leao comes in and benches Martinelli day one. So, no, just overall, I'm pretty optimistic. And, yeah, I think we're definitely lifting something next year.
I love the excitement and positivity. I mean, does it encourage you? I know you talked about the negativity. Is it in some way? I don't think you can describe the Arsenal online fan base being negative as a surprise, because it's not a surprise at all, because it's very predictable. But
which is why we have the most entertaining fans in the world.
Indeed. But what do you think it says about the fact that there's this rhetoric that Arsenal are always slow? Arsenal take ages to do deals. Arsenal aren't doing anything. This is boring. But in 3 of the last 4, including this summer potentially, that Arsenal could be doing their business early. Obviously, 2022, we did it early before pre-season. 23, we did it before pre-season. 24, we didn't. It's a poor window. We know that. This summer, 3 deals coming in before the end of June. Hopefully a striker before pre-season. And then we hope for that wide signing, i.e. maybe a Rodrygo this window as well. But ideally the striker in before pre-season. That would surely have to put to rest those myths, right?
There will always be people that find negative things. But also remember, a few years ago, the big narrative was Arsenal will get milked on any deal they had. We were always the ones coming in short. I like the fact that our team's actually going in there and demanding the right wages or demanding the right pay structure. But no, just one of the big things about the signing that's also should be very positive. I'm so sorry. Apparently, there's a truck outside my house.
Oh, that's all right. I can't hear anything. You could have left that completely up to mystery, and I would never have known. Keep going.
Sweet. So we have the talent, but one of the issues we've been lacking is the depth. We've needed to raise everything. So Calafiori, Moreno, they rose that boat. So I don't actually think last year was terrible. I think us not bringing in a striker was the big part, and we definitely needed someone in January. But no, just overall, I'm very fond of the team. Actually, like, look, if we're able to save $10-20 million in some of these contracts, I do not need these people until preseason. There's no reason why we needed to pay $10 million more, just have them come in on literally the same day.
Yeah. Yeah, as we were just saying, it's just been reported, of course, Sammy Mockbell, that a deal has been agreed between Brentford and Arsenal for Christian Norgaard. That is set to be completed now. So that really, I do get the irony of me literally returning to work today, and all of a sudden, Arsenal are now just conducting business ASAP. It is rather.
Sorry, Tom. I am kind of with. Sorry, I forgot his name. I think that's a real conspiracy theory.
Tom. Yeah, Tom from earlier on. Yeah.
Yeah.
There is no conspiracy. I am not involved in any way, I have to say.
No, Tom, I want there to be a conspiracy. That way, next time, I can tell you to set me up a meeting.
I really wish there was some connection that was real, but sadly there's not. Just quickly before you go, Sesko or Gyökeres, one-word answer.
Sesko.
Thank you for your time, Mosa. I really appreciate it. Pleasure.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks, mate. Lovely stuff. We've got 2 more. Bobby's up first. Bobby, you must be delighted with the amount of businesses going on already at Arsenal, with more set to come.
I am, yeah, absolutely. I'll keep this really brief, Tom, because I know you've been on for a very long time.
Thanks,
after a very long holiday as well. So, yeah, I'm very optimistic. I think bringing in Kepa was brilliant business, and I think Zubimendi, and it looks like we've got Norgaard as well. I think that's a really, and it's just an early spot. To be honest with you, I'm not falling into this Sesko or Gyökeres argument. I've just got faith in we're going to do something good, and I'll be quite honest with you there. I'm not going to say I'm after this one. If we got somebody completely different, and I think Simo said it as well, if we got, I think everyone's discounted Martinelli but I think you've got to bear in mind he's such an impactful player, so you might replace him with another player, but do they contribute enough defensively? And I think we should be very wary about that. And in terms of just progress for next year, I'm very optimistic, really. But my internet connection looks absolutely battered.
You're fine, man. I can see you and hear you fine. You're clear and crisp.
I'm going to let you get somebody on with a slightly better signal opposed to me outside.
I can see and hear you fine, Bobby. Like, you're absolutely. I don't. Obviously, on your end, it might be different, but I can see and hear you perfectly fine. But like, yeah, I get. I think that you're right to be positive. I think you're right to be excited, and Bobby's gone now. It's a shame. But I think he's right to be optimistic. I really do. I think that this window is already proven to be, very, very encouraging. 3 players in before June, agreed and dealed and done. And then, of course, the centre forward, the wide player, defender, hopefully a midfielder as well. But that's the luxury addition, if you will, for me. It's kind of mad to see them moving this fast. Biko is our final caller. The very old and aged Biko, who I definitely think was not under 18. It turns out he's much older than that. But Biko, thank you for coming on, mate. And how are you doing?
Thanks for having me.
Can you hear me? Oh, there must be a delay. I think there's a little bit of a lag delay. Just be aware.
I can hear you.
All good.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay.
I can indeed.
So I've got to say, when you weren't around, we actually missed you a lot.
Oh, thanks, man.
I actually did a temp check with our other content creators, and it's really bad. It's really bad. And the reason why for that, I think, is fatigue. There's this notion that the world is ending in 2025, and that's the last opportunity we have to win any trophy, or in 2026 rather.
Yeah.
And I think it's contributing to a lot of the frustration around transfers. And to be honest, look at where the club is now compared to where it was 5-10 years ago. Totally different state. But the meltdown is really a bit tiring. So when you left, I also kind of shut down after doing the temp check. I was like, it's enough.
Thanks, man. I agree. I think that it's what transfers do to people. There's a real desperation around them. I remember the window. I think we did a show. Did we do a show like on the day of the window opening on June 1st? I think if you go back to that show, the energy in the chat box was scary how negative it was on the 1st of June. It's scary how negative it was.
It's crazy because it feels like there's no sense of sensibility. Everything has to be the way we want it as fans, forgetting that there's a whole system that has to function long after we've left.
Yeah, I've seen some people aren't necessarily all happy. I think both Charles and Harry have voiced their concerns about the signing of Norgaard. And look, hey, I empathise with some of those concerns. I get that some people maybe wanted somebody better than Norgaard. I've personally really liked Norgaard for a while. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the way it goes. Someone with Inyo at the end of their name usually is what's needed.
Yes.
I think that for that signing to have happened so quickly after obviously recognising that Partey is not going to be here next season, it shows how proactive the club are being. It shows how ready they are this window. It shows, the maturity really of what Arsenal have got now. And Andrea Berta, of course, will be a big part of that. And Mikel Arteta is thought to be kind of the driving force behind the decision to sign Norgaard, but it's Berta's job to get that deal done, not Arteta's, and he's doing that very swiftly. So that's obviously very impressive. But where do you sit on kind of like, we had a few discussions earlier around some deals might take longer, like the striker deal in particular, the wide forward player in particular. We expect these deals to kind of maybe take a little bit, particularly the wide player will be longer. The striker, we hope, before pre-season on the 19th of July. So How do you feel about how the fan base might deal with, obviously, those two particular deals taking that little bit extra?
So maybe I'm speaking from a privileged point of view, so to say, because I'm actually a sports coach.
Okay.
So I deal with youngsters. So I know even at grassroots levels how long it can take to negotiate, involving lawyers, agents, clubs, and parents even at sometimes. So I am usually calm about the matter, but I actually think that if in the second week of July there isn't any major news breaking or then I think we're going to see a much bigger meltdown, and a lot of the big content creators making a whole lot more noise than what they have been. And I don't think that's really fair on the club, because let's take the last 5 windows. They've only disappointed twice. In 5 windows, disappointing twice is major in Europe. So I think it's fair to give the club a bit of grace, so to say, because they have proven that since taking over, for example, the Cronkies, since taking over, they have shown that they have a willingness to take the club back to where it was. And look at where we are now, actually. It's not so far off from that. So for us to be self-destructive is like, I just don't understand it.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point. It's also worth pointing out, obviously, this is the first summer with Andrea Berta in charge. I don't think that gives him leeway. That's not what my point is. I think that he has to come in and deliver in his first window. He's got enough experience that he shouldn't need a settling in window at all. There's no free hit when it comes to Andrea Berta at all. But what I would say about that is that we've got to judge it based on what he does in his first window. You can't really too much go off what has gone before to a degree, because with the guy that's leading Arsenal's negotiations and transfer business is a brand new profile. So we are completely out of the know when it comes to what he can do with this club. So we can only go off what is happening as it's happening. And what we know so far is we've wrapped up effectively 3 transfers before the end of June for 3 positions that were absolutely necessities during this window. Yes. Norgaard, of course, being the one if we were to lose Partey, which is evident that we are indeed going to see him leave. And so Arsenal very quickly responded and have, responded, I think, with a very, very astute piece of business in Norgaard, who I hope will prove, a lot of the doubt was wrong. And I think that, the data we've got available to us right now, Norgaard certainly shows that it was a smart piece of business by the club. But obviously time will be what tells us whether or not it was the right decision. Just before you go, I will ask you that question as well. One word answer, Sesko or Gyökeres?
Sesko.
Sesko or Gyokeres? Come on, you got to pick one.
Sesko.
I can't hear you, Biko. Sorry, I can't hear you. For some reason, it's not good. That might be on my end. It might be me. I don't know.
Definitely Sesko.
I don't know if the chat box is hearing the answer. I'm sure I'll hear it from the chat box if it's me and not you. But sometimes it does cut out on my end for some reason. But I'll listen back and hear your answer. But Biko, thank you so much for your time, mate. He said Sesko, Joey said. Sesko, right? Thumbs up?
Yes.
There you go. So it is on my end. It's not on your end. All good. Thank you, Biko, for your time. Really appreciate it. I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you. Thank you for leaving me on.
Thanks, mate. Lovely stuff. Apologies for the slight audio issue there. And that was my fault, not our listeners. But thankfully, it was the last caller of the show. And you guys all told me who he said it. Oh, did he say Nketiah? Ramsey says. I think apparently he said Nketiah. He wants to sign. Cheeky. Anyway, thank you so much, all of you, for tuning in and listening to today's show. You've had 3 hours of TGT today. You've been without it for 2 weeks, so you've been blessed with a little bit extra content than usual. I hope you have enjoyed it. A massive thank you to all of our callers and, of course, contributors in the chat box today as well. They've been absolutely fantastic to get kind of the insights, and it's nice to see Arsenal moving in the market. Definitely nothing to do with me coming back. I can assure you of that. I have nothing to do with the fact that Arsenal are finally moving in the transfer window. They definitely did not wait for the transfer show to start up again in order to make some moves, but they have, and it's quite nice timing. So we'll discuss more about Christian Norgaard, of course, in tomorrow's 8 a.m. show. If you are new to the channel, we do those every single day. And, of course, these phone-in shows will be dotted throughout the transfer window, of course, as well. But thank you so much, all of you, for listening. Stay safe, stay well, stay happy and respectful. And, as always, up the Arsenal.